Now, dear aspirants, we are going to start with the modern India. What the syllabus is given by the boards, that syllabus we have to break it out. We have to confine the syllabus. We have to make the syllabus as every syllabus is covered. But how can we break the syllabus so that every part of the syllabus is covered and we can get all the questions? So in modern India, when we are going to break the syllabus, the syllabus here, what we can see and what we have to cover so that we can get almost all the questions from modern India. The very first thing what we have to get here is evolution and establishment of British rule in India. Establishment of British rule in India. This is the very first thing which will come out. Firstly, I am giving you the whole syllabus. Then in this video, I will start with this topic and then the series will come to you. Modern India 1, Modern India 2, Modern India 3. Second thing here is the evolution and establishment of British rule, in which in this particular topic what we have to cover is the character of the establishment of British rule. As in the history, there is a controversy that whether the British established themselves as a ruler upon India accidentally or planned. So here we have to confine ourselves on these two things, whether it was accidental or was it planned. Then the second thing in this what we have to cover is the different kind of struggles or wars with the Indian states. From here also we are expecting the questions, like especially in Bengal we have to see two particular things. Battle of Plassey that happened in 1757. Second thing, Battle of Buxar that took place in 1764. Then we have to see wars with Marathas. 3 wars they fought. First war they fought in 1775 to 1782. Second war they fought 1803 to 1805. Third war they fought for 1 year. What we are going to see here, not the wars, not the factual aspect, because it is for mains. So what we are going to see here in optional, that what were the causes behind that, what are the debates related to that, what was the outcome. Similarly, some treaties which were of very important, like in the Anglo-Maratha War, Treaty of Bassein was very important. So all such analysis we are going to see here. Simultaneously, the third we have to see about the Sindh, annexation of Sindh, that done in 1843. Done in 1843. Third topic what we are going to see here is the British paramountcy with Indian states, the phases and their character. British paramountcy with Indian states, the phases and their character. The fourth thing what we are going to see here is peasant and tribal revolts. Here what we will see, we will cover the 18th century, we will cover the 19th century, both half, first half and second half. and then comparison with 20th century. Then comparison with 20th century, because there are certain changes in the character. Even in the 19th century, in the first half, the character was different, and in the second half the character was different. Then we are going to see here the fifth thing, revolt of 1857. Causes, what different historians commented about this. Was it a national revolt? Was it the first war of independence? All such aspect, the impact of revolt, we are going to cover here. The next topic, sixth topic, what we are going to see in the modern India. Why I am defining topic? Because as I told you in my introductory video, that it is always easier to cover the history for examination purpose if the syllabus is to be made examination oriented. And if we are making the syllabus examination oriented, then almost all statement wise syllabus as well as the questions which may be framed from the different parts of the history can be easily answered. So the sixth topic here will be the rise of Indian nationalism. I'm giving you the topics here, but maybe one or two topic I can cover earlier also. In Indian nationalism, the rise is taken from 1860s by the Indian historians. Here, in rise of Indian nationalism, there are so many things. The very first thing, the causes behind the rise. The second thing, foundation of Congress. With the Congress, there are too many aspects. Myth of the Congress, official responses to the Congress. Then we are going to see the phases of the Congress, phases of the nationalism. First phase is moderate phase. Their nature, their character, 1885 to 1905. It was 1885 to 1905. 1885 to 1905. Then the extremist phase. 1905 to 1919. Then the Gandhian phase. Like last year, one question came. Examine the thoughts of Gandhiji on Indian society, 1915 to 1947. Because here I'll cover also the coming of Gandhiji and the debate related to the coming of Gandhiji. Was it politically planned or not, for mains aspect. Then the socialist phase. That we have to see from 1928 to 1947. Then we have to see the revolutionary extremism. Both phases, first phase and the second phase. Rather, I'll cover it at one place, correct? Then important developments from 1905 to 1947. 1905 to 1947. Some important developments are there that we will have to observe here, and then we can go for there, correct? Now, the left thing is British economic policies. Like revenue settlement policies, like what are the phases of British economic policies, what were the impact on society, what was the impact on economy, deindustrialization, industrialization, all such things we'll have to cover here. Then the next thing we have to cover here is British administrative policy, judicial policy, and educational policy. The moment we are covering the another last topic is socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. The moment we are covering these 9 topics in breakup, whole of the modern India syllabus is covered. Whole of the modern India syllabus is covered. Every bit of question, every bit of analysis you will get in all these particular 9 chapters. And in these 9 chapters what I have planned for you people, they are all kind of related historical developments, historical forces, historical debates I am going to cover. So after defining the syllabus, now I am starting the first topic, evolution and establishment of British rule in India. So very first topic in this video what I am going to cover is evolution and establishment of British rule in India. Always keep in mind, this is I am covering for mains. So less factual information will be given and it is optional. So it will be in detail. Everything what is there important is to be covered. It is not for general studies, so that I can leave some part and I may not be giving you some debates. So whatever the things related there, that those things will be covered. So the very first thing and the very first chapter what I am going to cover is establishment of British rule in India. British rule in India, establishment of British rule in India. What is the meaning of establishment? Meaning of establishment is British came here as a foreigner. They raised India officially when the East India Company was formed in 1600 and the charter or the permission was given to the British to go and trade with India or East. Then their functionaries came to the court of Jahangir because that time the government was monarchy and the head of the government that time almost of 60% of India was the Mughal ruler. So they reached to the court of Jahangir 1608 and thereafter they got the permission to do the trade. And that trade was basically when they were doing the trade, they were paying the taxes to the Mughal ruler. Different type of settlements were there. In this background, when the 18th century started, after the death of Aurangzeb, that point of time, Indian political scenario became fragmented. Indian political scenario became dispersed. The centralized authority started getting disseminated. The centralized authority became weakened. Centralized authority was Mughal because of different factors that you will get in the medieval Indian course. So that point of time, when one central authority started becoming weak, the other states, those who were the regional states like Marathas, Mysore, Bengal, these are the important states, they started coming into the power. They started asserting their influences. And the struggle in between them started for supremacy. Struggle in between them started for supremacy. So the first half of the 18th century of India was presenting the fragmented polity, we can say. So that point of time, the British entered into the wars, struggles with the different states. Later on, this controversy has arisen that whether the British winning of India was planned or non-planned. So here, the one dimensional thing is there that whether it was accidental or it was planned. Now in history, we have to remember there are always two type of historians, especially in the modern Indian history. One is nationalist historian and the another is the colonial historian. Colonial historians having many kind of segregation, but here the colonial historian we have to understood that they were from Britain mostly. All time the colonial historians, suppose a British person is writing the history of Britain, that means they had to support the British. So here the dimension is whether the British conquest, British win of India was accidental, that means without planning, or it was planned, or it was planned. This is the single dimension in this particular question. And from that book, what is published by John Seeley in 1883, the language can be taken and you can be asked to write the answer, correct? So here what we have to start to understand, colonial historians are basically saying, we have to mention this type of thing, colonial historians. It is not only one historian, that is why we have to mention this. Wherever it is required to mention the name of the historian, I will give you the name and you can mention, correct? Colonial historians are saying that British victory was purely accidental. British victory was purely accidental. That means without planning. This is the very first point here. British victory was purely accidental. That was without planning. Without planning, I mean to say they emphasized that the British came as traders. British came as traders and they were doing the trade from 17th century in India. Beginning of 17th century in India, 1608, they made the first settlement at Surat. Thereafter, they were saying that since the British historians primarily were there, so at that point of time, they had given the taxes to the Mughal rulers. So they never had the planning, they never had the intention to fight, to get into the struggle with the Indian states and to get the political power in India, to get the political domination in India. Then how this controversy started, that whether it was accidental, here you have to mention the name of the historian John Seeley. John Seeley in 1883 has published a book. Name of the book was Expansion of England. Name of the book was Expansion of England. In this book, the John Seeley told Expansion of England. If you don't remember the year, hardly matters. You must remember the name of the book and John Seeley. In this book, John Seeley commented that British won India. This line will come in the question, if the question will come. British won India in the fit of absent-mindedness. In the fit of absent-mindedness. What is the meaning of this? In the fit of absent-mindedness, that the British victory was not planned. They came as a trader since the beginning of 17th century. Had they been having any planning, they could have entered, they could have engaged themselves into some kind of political and administrative struggle with the Mughals, but it had never happened. Then there is no question that the British victory of India was planned. This view was supported by every colonial historian. They supported the view because it was absolving, or it was saving. You can use the simple word. It was saving the British from the political guilt. From the political guilt. Why political guilt? Political guilt here means that British rule India for almost 200 years, if we are counting from 1765. Thereafter what happened, what the situation they left in India, that situation was of high poverty. That situation was of high social disintegration. That situation was of British when left India, India was divided into two parts. One is Pakistan, another was India. So all such thing could have been going as a blame upon British. But since they wanted to save themselves from this guilt, they just made this view that we did not win India, rather it was circumstantial. We were there and nothing was happening there, so we had to win India. So this is what the accidental winning of India. And this came as a controversy, started as a controversy from the book of John Seeley, that was Expansion of England. Then, this is the view of colonial historian. So this is first thing what you have to keep in mind. And when you are writing, you have to write this thing in brief, correct. Then, what the national historians are saying. National historians are just opposite to this view. I am just writing here. National historians are just opposite this view. National historians basically from India. Okay, they were not from anywhere else. National historians, there are also some divide now, neo-liberalist historians, but mostly the history accepts the history of the nationalist historians without any division. So the view of the nationalist historians are purely, nationalist historians are saying, we have to say, it was purely planned. The British establishment, the British rule which was established in India was purely planned. Now they are saying, now they are giving their logic. British were the colonial powers and they were establishing their colonies almost in every part of the world. And wherever they were going to establish the colony, primarily they were entering into that state as a trader. So they are not ready to accept that it was accidental. Second thing they are saying that they did not participate in any political or any administrative struggle, because Mughal rulers were very strong. They were highly strong. And many examples were there. If you want to support this statement with the example, here you can say that during the rule of Shah Jahan, in Bengal, don't write this type of long example, but just to understand here I am telling you. In Bengal, Portuguese were also present in India as traders. Portuguese were highly killed and ousted from Bengal because they were engaged in the slave trades. So they did not have the permission to engage in the slave trade. So here this example can work out. Since Mughal rulers were highly strong, since Mughal rulers' administrative, military aspect was highly strong, so the British did not enter into political and administrative struggle. So this is the view of the colonial historian given to counter the nationalist historian, given to counter the colonial historians. So now here we are seeing a dilemma, what view we have to accept. Now in the examination we have to accept this view. Now we have to understand what was the actual position, whether it was planned or whether it was accident. So then after writing the view of colonial historians and then the writing of the view of the nationalist historians, then we have to come upon this. The actual position was, very first thing, actual position seems to be somewhere. You have to write the full line. What I am saying, you can make the notes. Actual position seems to be somewhere in between. This is the point what I am giving you. Then I am explaining and telling you the language. You can write it down and you can make the full notes. Somewhere in between means that initially the British victory of India was unplanned, but later on it was planned. So what we are doing here, since the historians are confused, since both of the opinion is there, so here the history of India accepts the winning of the establishment of the British rule earlier was unplanned. Earlier was unplanned, on later on it was planned, and subsequently or later on it was planned. Subsequently or later on it was planned. It was planned. This is what I just gave you, that what is the acceptance in the history and what we have to present here, somewhere located in between. Earlier it was unplanned, later on it was planned. Now we have to support that what we are seeing here. Now in the second thing what we have to say, that when the point what we have made, that when it was unplanned, and we have to support it why it was unplanned. It is not me who is supporting it, it is not you who will support it, because in history we cannot say anything extra what is not accepted. Then here we have to start like this, we have to make the point. For almost 100 years, very first point, for almost 100 years, British never participated in any political or administrative struggle. They did their trade, they purchased jamindari rights, they purchased the places. Jamindari rights means purchase the places, purchase the jamindari rights. When they purchased the jamindari rights, that means they were respecting the Mughal rules, they were respecting the law of the time, they were basically paying the money to the Mughals for purchasing the jamindari rights, and there they were settling their factories. Factories that point of time was basically a place where they fortified and they used to stay there, and they used to keep their trading goods also there. So we have to say like this, for first 100 years they never entered into any political or administrative struggle. They purchased the jamindari rights, they established the factories, they followed the law, rules, regulations. Then we have to say that they demanded concessions from the Mughal rulers, demanded concessions from the Mughal rulers. It means they were respecting the Mughal rulers in the terms of law. They demanded concessions from the Mughal rulers. When they demanded the concessions, just to give them some concessions, many orders were issued. Orders that time was known as farmans. So here you have to mention two specific names in concessions. Many orders or the farmans were issued or to be given to the Britishers so that they can do the trade, and it signifies that the Britishers did not have the strength to fight or to enter into any political administrative struggle. Then the farmans especially were issued by Shah Jahan to give them some concessions, as well as the farman issued by Farrukh Siyar. If you don't remember the name, then you can write few rulers issued the farman when they demanded the concessions. Very importantly, you have to write the significance. The significance I am telling you here with the points. The significance when they demanded the concessions, that means they did not have the strength to contest or to fight, and their intention was also not there. This is the first thing, farman. Their intention was also very clear. Their intention was also very clear that they will remain as a trader in India. They will not enter into political and administrative struggle. They will not enter into political and administrative struggle. This is the first thing. Second point, here you have to see in the unplanned. Then you have to support the unplanned like this. Then you have to make out the another point in relation to this. The another plan was, the another point is that this is the first point, this is the second point. The third point you have to make it here is the British fought battles in Bengal. British fought battles in Bengal 1765 and 1764. Battle of Bengal. Now you have to say Battle of Bengal was a personal misadventure of Lord Clive. It was not supported by the company. Company means East India Company. Personal misadventure means circumstances were so highly unmanageable that the company was not willing to give the command to the Lord Clive to go and fight the Battle of Plassey. But Lord Clive was the person who understood, and he went there against the orders of the company. That means what? Again, the intention was very clear that the company was not willing to enter into the political and administrative struggle. Simultaneously in 1764, in the Battle of Buxar, the company was trying to avoid the war. Company was trying to avoid the war. Battle of Bengal, Battle of Plassey and Buxar we'll have to see in detail in the next video. But here we have to use, in Battle of Buxar also, company was trying to avoid the war. In fact, both of the parties, rulers of Bengal were also trying to avoid the war. But circumstances cropped up and finally the war was there. So here also the intention was not to enter into the struggle. Simultaneously, we have to give the example of Mysore War. Mysore War. Here we have to say that the British fought 3 Mysore wars, and almost in the all Mysore wars, British entered for saving their interests, rather than to planning for winning the India. How to save their interest? If we will go for the geography of India, just for a while I am telling you here, you have to write it in language. If we will see the geography of India at that point of time, the Mysore position was located highly strategic. Mysore, now the part of Karnataka, that time it was a separate state. And that point of time, nearby Mysore, one state was there, that was Hyderabad. Now Hyderabad is the part of Andhra Pradesh. Nizam was the ruler there. And one of the very fertile tract there was on the eastern coast of southeastern coast of India. So if the Mysore or Hyderabad would have been stopped, or if the British would not have been given the land route from Hyderabad or Mysore to reach to South India, then it would have been very and highly difficult for the British. Because in the South India, French were present, and the French governor that time, his name was Dupleix. Dupleix was present. And Dupleix was having the ambition to carve out a political French empire in India. So British entered in the wars just to save their interest, just to have the trade routes till South India, just to save their trading outposts in the southeastern coast, in the North India and in the South India. So this is what again showing the intention of the British, that they did not want any kind of a struggle for the political victory in India, political domination in India. Then the fourth point, this is the third point, this is the fourth point. Then the fifth point we have to say, here is, point wise in the video I am saying you because you can understand very well. Rather you can write it paragraph wise, not point wise, correct? Sorry. Then we have to say the policy of subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was brought by one of the Governor General of Bengal. His name was Lord Wellesley. But here the factual thing should not be given in the mains, so please avoid that. Now here we have to say the policy of subsidiary alliance was also a defensive kind of thing. Defensive in terms of what? It was defensive because it was basically defensive for British. Defensive for British. Why it was defensive for British? Because it was basically disarming the Indian states. Its clauses were there which were asking that Indian states had to abandon the military, had to leave the military. They did not keep the military. So disarming the Indian states, that means wherever their factory is settled at that point of time, the Indian states should not have so much strength to go and fight against the British, because already in the Battle of Plassey, the British faced this thing. The Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaulah, attacked upon the British settlement in Kolkata, that time Calcutta, and there when he attacked, many of the Britishers were killed. So Britishers were willing to disarm the Indian states, those Indian states who were powerful, and lieu of that, the Britishers were promising them that they can support them in the times of crisis. So subsidiary alliance was also a kind of defensive thing. So in the first point, that victory, the British victory was unplanned, we have to give this type of explanation. We have to analyze like this. Now the second thing, that when it became planned, because we have to satisfy both of the things, that initially earlier it was unplanned, later on the British victory became planned. So the British victory, why was unplanned? I have given you all the analysis, and how it was planned. You just see the analysis now. And if the question comes, then you have to write answers by combining the both. How the British victory was planned. Then we have to say the British victory was planned with the coming of the Lord Hastings. Here you have to mention this name. With the coming of the Lord Hastings as the Governor General of Bengal. Lord Hastings was Governor General of Bengal from 1813 to 1823. With the coming of the Lord Hastings upon India, the British victory was planned. Why British victory was planned? Because by that time, British already had won. Mysore. Maratha power was already weakened. Bengal was already under control, and only two of the formidable enemy was there. One was the state of Punjab, that was Ranjit Singh, and the Maratha power was considerably reduced. So it was not at all the formidable enemy. Rather it was a kind of enemy which may be routed anytime. So British victory started becoming planned. Now how we have to support this? From the coming of Lord Hastings, the territorial expansionist policy was followed. Territorial expansionist policy was followed, not by Lord Hastings only, by every subsequent people till Lord Dalhousie 1848 onwards. Lord Dalhousie annexed, the historical words we are using here, annexed so many smaller states. You have to give one or two example. Annexed so many smaller states like Satara, Jhansi, etc. What does this signify? This signifies that from here the conscious expansionist policy was taken. Conscious expansionist policy was followed, And because of this conscious expansionist policy, whoever the Governor General came, they followed the expanding territorial policy within and outside India. In this era only, the Sindh was occupied also. In this era only, the Myanmar was occupied also. In this era only, the British tried to enter towards Nepal also. So here, the showing of the expansionist territorial expansion basically was showing the intention of the British rule to win India. So from here onwards, they started making the plan. Second thing here is, this is the first thing. The second thing here is, the British rejected to meet. The British rejected to meet Mughal ruler without equality. Mughal ruler without equality. Mughal ruler without equality. That means the Mughal ruler wanted to meet the British Governor General, but the British Governor General told, if you will accept us as equal, then we can meet you. Mughal ruler initially was unable to accept that, so Britishers refused to meet. Earlier what happened, the Mughal rulers were taking the taxes from the Britishers. Now here the position came that deliberately and consciously they are avoiding to meet the Mughal ruler. So at this point of time, it became highly clear that the British domination, British victory or British political domination upon India was planned. And this was also to give highly the concept of paramountcy, the practical terms. Paramountcy means the unchallengeable political power whose political domination had already been established upon certain territorial portion. This is what the concept of paramountcy. So it was finally established there. And when this concept was planned, when this concept was focused, that means the British victory upon India or the establishment of the British political domination upon India was thoroughly planned. Simultaneously, you have to say here that last point, in 1858, the British Crown took over the rule in India. 1858, the British Crown took over the rule in India. So when they took over the rule in India, that means the British imperialism directly came in open. That means the British imperialism directly came in open. British imperialism directly came in open. And from here onwards, it was unquestionable, it was undoubtful that the British political domination, which was planned 1813 onwards, now is heading forward, and it was purely the planned domination of India. Correct. Now see, in this topic, any type of language they can form to ask you a question. One language will come directly, that the British won India in the fit of absent-mindedness. Comment. They can tell you that circumstances guided the British victory in India. Comment. They can tell you that it was not the British, rather the Indian conditions which invited the British to have the political domination upon India. Comment. Getting this one? Here analysis will not come. Here the word will come comment. Then you have to write that according to, because you have to write the answers in length 300 words, 250 words, 300 words, 350 words. So whatever you have to, what I have dealt you, that is almost in around 500 words. So from there you can have the 300 words and can write your answer. Then you have to build up your answer. You have to make the framework. When you are listening this, you make your notes, and then at that point of time, you have to build up that there is a controversy which has been arising from the book of Expansion of England, written by John Seeley in 1883. Colonial historians are arguing this on these points. National historians are arguing this on these points. Then the actual position seems to be different. It is located between both. Earlier it was unplanned, later it was planned. Then you have to give the logic and you have to complete the answer. From the establishment of British rule in India, this is the single dimension which we have to prepare. Then in this continuation, we have to go for Battle of Bengal, then battle with Marathas, then annexation of Sindh. So in the next video you will have Battle of Bengal, then Battle of Marathas. So videos will be continuing for completion of the course. So thank you for listening me. Having any doubt, you can forward the doubt to me.